Hi guys, this is our assignment on weather versus climate. And so after you watch the video that I've already given you to watch today, this is what you'll be using to kind of answer our questions of like kind of using climate to help us with the weather. So we are comparing the annual weather averages that make up the climate for Rogers, Arkansas to the weather in Rogers this past month. So we haven't completed a full month. We're looking at December. Oh, this says February. So I'm on the wrong paper. Last year we did this in February, and this year we're doing it in December. So this past month. So according to the high and low temperature, which 2 days this past month are the most similar to a typical day in December? So you could look at a typical day in December and explain why you chose these days. So if we have to go back to November and you're comparing it to November, that's okay. Just explain that in your answer. I know we've only had a week of December, so maybe that's a little hard because we haven't had the past month has been mostly November. So if you want to use November instead of December, that is okay. And you'll explain why did you choose those as the typical days. So you're going to be able to look at the previous forecasts on that link to the that web link, and you can compare the forecast, the weather that happened this year, to the picture that shows us the weather that happens on average, which is more like our climate, right? So that's kind of our big difference between weather and climate. Number two, of the 2 days above, is there other information other than temperature that would help you pick the most typical day this past December? So, what are some things that you can look at other than just the temperature that might tell us that it is a typical day? So, you can include other weather things like precipitation or like air pressure or lots of those things that might be posted, right? Number three, was last week a typical week in December? So actually, probably be better if we talked about November for number one and two, because it says last month and we haven't had a full month of December, so it's hard to compare. But last week was a December week, so we could say, well, was last week a typical week in December? And we can do the same thing we did with November for the first two questions, but compare it to December. Explain your answer. Why do you think it was? Why wasn't it? Is there any differences, similarities? Okay, so this is kind of like a piece of a CER. It says evidence. So you can include data from the graph and the table or calculations that you made. If you did some averaging or something of that nature to look at the average temperature for last week, you can include that in there, right? Remember, average is adding up each day and then dividing by the number of days. So if you looked at last week, which is first week of December, you could add the temperatures from, even if it's still November, or now we have from Monday, or I think it was Tuesday, December 1st till today would be the first week of December. If you want to use that, you could calculate what's the temperature each day and divide by 7 days. And that would give you the average temperature for the week, the first week of December. You can compare that to some other data in the other tables. Right. Number four, was this past month a typical December in Rogers? It says past month, so you're probably going to need to go back again and we'll say November. I was trying to focus on the month we're in, and then I realized, we've only just started December. So you're going to explain your answer and the same deal. Evidence, include the data, graph, table, or your own calculations. So this is a really good activity to let us use evidence or data to show the difference between climate and weather. And we actually can use our climate to predict the weather a little bit, but the weather is what happens today, right? And it's not always as predictable. But the climate is kind of what is our average over time based on where we are located and what kind of environment we have. And there's lots that goes into that, like elevation, exposure to the sun, season or time of the year, etc. So hopefully you guys have no issue with this assignment, and I hope to see you guys soon.